Wednesday evening, Erika Kirk sat down for an exclusive interview with Jesse Waters. And I think you guys need to see some of the things that were discussed during that interview. We're going to go through a couple of moments here that I think we really need to talk about. Some of the things that they go through, her response apparently to Jimmy Kimmel, which is interesting. I think Jimmy Kimmel has already, apologized and wasn't really talking about Charlie Kirk to begin with. His criticism was more directed towards Donald Trump. So that's interesting. The cameras, whether or not cameras should be present in the courtroom. Another thing that was discussed was how does she feel about the conspiracies around Charlie Kirk's death? And then also you're going to hear from a Turning Point USA whistleblower, which somehow I missed this, but someone sent it to me. They're talking about what has changed when Erika apparently took over that organization. So I think let's go ahead and get started with this part of the interview here, where Erika discusses the moment she found out that Charlie Kirk was shot. So we're getting started here with this statement from Mike McCrae. Let's go ahead and get into this.
That was the first time I've ever called her during a campus tour stop.
And so Mikey called me, and I'll never forget him just being like, Charlie's been shot. He's been shot, get the kids, get security, get the kids, he's been shot. I sprinted out of her treatment center, and just collapsed in the middle of the parking lot. Called our security. Unbelievable nightmare.
Let's pause here for a second. I do want to remind everyone that Mikey McCoy's father did make a statement. We talked about this before on the show, that his son was covered in blood after that. Obviously, the video footage does not show that. And that didn't make sense to me. Like, why would you say that when the video obviously shows that he was walking away? And we went through that whole video footage, etc. That's just really weird to me. Also, I noticed Erika said there that she contacted security, and it does just make me wonder what was the security situation at that event. Remember, we talked about this before about the event form, how it wasn't selected to have police apparently detail, or wasn't an option on that form. And I was asking that question too, like, where was security during that event at that point in time? And I think that's a question many people have had. But she said that she contacted security. Let's go on a little bit more here. Actually, let's not show that part. Hold on. Okay, here we go.
And so we are going to do that right now. We're going to pause and offer our prayer. We hope you join along. However, and to whomever you pray, I hope in this moment that you can pray for Charlie Kirk.
There was a moment there where people thought Charlie would survive.
Mm-hmm. There were so many things going on at that one moment. It was so hard to actually know and hear what was going on, because you're getting phone calls in and out, and hindsight, the way the bullet hit him, he died instantaneously.
He was pronounced dead.
He died on the scene.
Who pronounced him dead? This is another question that I had. He was pronounced dead on the scene, but who was the person that made that call? Right? Now, obviously, we know, he was shot in the neck, but I am still curious about that. Who was the one that said that he was pronounced dead? Just something to think about.
But I'm so glad he didn't suffer. Excuse me. I'm so glad he didn't suffer. No one deserves to suffer. But him, of all people. So he literally blinked and probably thought he was raptured and looked around and was like, where's everybody else? He blinked and he was with the Lord.
And you wanted to see Charlie immediately and came up. Take us through that.
We landed in Utah, went straight to the hospital. When you walked in, everyone was just, it was a scene from just a horror movie. Everyone is so rattled to the core. Officers, law enforcement, hospital workers, our team, everyone is just shaken. And we get into the room. One of the law enforcement guys comes in. It's very sweet, but what do you say to someone whose husband just was assassinated so publicly? He said, I've been doing this for 30-some years. He said, I will never tell you that you cannot see your husband. He said, but I, in my professional opinion, think that you should wait to see him once he's at the mortuary. Because I don't think you want to see him like this. The room got quiet because half the room knew it's probably a good idea. And the other half of the room was like, there is no way she's listening to you right now. And I responded back to him and I said, with all due respect, sir, I said, I want to see what they did to my husband.
You have to identify the body. Typically that's how that would work, is that if someone is killed, the next of kin is asked to identify the body and say, well, is this that person? I mean, granted, Charlie Kirk's a public figure, but still it's, I guess the police officer was probably saying that because of, in the way, the manner, that he was killed. But usually there is that, please come identify, the body, push.
And I want to give him a kiss because I didn't get to give him a kiss this morning. And I said the same thing to the doctor. When the doctor came in, I said, I want to see my husband. He said, I'll make sure that happens. And I did. And I got to see him. And when we walked into that room, he still looks so alive. I mean, because he just, and I'm just so glad I saw him, because you know this, when you see someone pass at the mortuary, they never look the same when they're at the mortuary. They have this awful makeup and they're cold, and he was still warm and his eyes were slightly open. But it was so powerful, Jesse. He had this smirk on his face. It was so sweet. He had this smirk on his face where it meant three things to me. First, that he died doing what he loved. The second was that he was at peace. And I gave him a kiss. Gave him a kiss. And then before I left the room, which was one of the hardest moments of my life, was leaving him in that room. Excuse me. I looked at him and I thought to myself, that smirk to me is that look of, you thought you could stop what I've built. You thought that you could end this vision, this movement, this revival. You thought you could do that by murdering me. You got my body. You didn't get my soul.
So that was kind of weird to me, that, like, again, it seems like it goes back to Turning Point USA. And I told you guys before that, like, it was just kind of weird to me how quickly she wanted to get back into, like, okay, well, I'm going to be the one that's taking over Turning Point USA, right? Like, and it's like your husband was just killed. And what I didn't understand is, why couldn't that have just paused for a moment? Now, some people say, well, Sabrina, it's organization. The organization got to continue. Yeah, but people have been known to take a hiatus, right? So what was the rush of getting someone else in so quickly to continue that organization. Also, it's not election season. It's not like someone's running for president right now. It just seemed like business as usual. Again, like I would say that push probably came from the donor class if I were to make a suggestion, an assumption. It was probably the donor class that is donating to Turning Point USA. Those donors, like, well, we got to keep that machine going, got to keep that engine running out there, instead of just taking a pause, a significant pause, and not rushing into something so quickly after your husband was just killed. It was just very weird to me. Let's go on here.
How do you process that?
I never saw the video. I never will see it. I never want to see it. There's certain things you see in your life that you can never unsee.
Let's go back just a little bit. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit there.
Been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
By that time, the video was everywhere. How do you process that?
I never saw the video. I never will see it. I never want to see it. There's certain things you see in your life that you can never unsee.
So, did not know that. I didn't know that she never saw the video. And I get it, obviously, most people do not want to see like their spouse like killed, right? Like most people don't want to watch that. But I have to ask this question. If Erika never saw the video, that would also explain why maybe she doesn't have these questions about who killed her husband. We got to remember she's insulated. And she said this herself also during this interview, that she has pretty much, insulated herself. She's in the thick of all this, and she's surrounded by people that are continuing to push the narrative that came from the FBI, that came from Kash Patel, corrupt Kash Patel. So we, on the other hand, are on the outside looking in. We're not surrounded by all of those people telling us this guy, Tyler Robinson, did it. And yeah, that's what it is. And just believe that. He was radicalized, leftist, and he's the crazy that went out there and did it. So I think this is something I think we need to think about, guys. It might be easier for us to look at this differently because we're on the outside looking in. She's on the inside. And if this is true, that she never saw the video, that would explain why she doesn't have some of the questions that the rest of us had. Because at the end of the day, for me, this is about corruption. I wasn't a fan of Charlie Kirk. I didn't like a lot of the things that Charlie Kirk said. But when I look at organizations like the FBI, I know there's a lot of corruption that goes on there. I mean, we're talking about FBI. They killed revolutionary leaders in this country. So I always look at the FBI with great pause. And then the fact that I did see the video, the fact that the video that shows Tyler Robinson on the roof doesn't show him with the gun. Then you find out that you can't even disassemble that gun so quickly to put it in a book bag that he had, and then to assemble it again and leave it in the woods. Like, that is why more of us have these questions. And I think she doesn't, is because she is insulated in all of this with that narrative that came from crooked Kash Patel. And she didn't see the video. I think this is very damning, guys. Let's continue on.
There's certain things you see in your life that mark your soul forever. I don't want my husband's public assassination to be something I ever see. I don't want my kids to ever see that. And for people who actually enjoy watching that, which is quite literally sick, what if that was your father or your brother or your sister? There's a perspective shift there. We're human. Life is fragile. And there is so much beauty in this world. Why would you waste any portion of your life looking at something so evil?
Well, I said the same thing, right? Like I did say you shouldn't celebrate, someone being killed. Like we shouldn't be celebrating that. I did say that. At the same time, I do want to remind people that, yeah, some of the black men that were killed by police were also someone's dad. And I seem to remember a number of people making memes about it, celebrating it, laughing about it, all those things. They didn't think about the fact that that was someone's dad. They didn't care because they were black. Just plain and simple. Some people will say, oh, it was because they were a criminal. No, not all of them. Not all of them. So it's this is that thing. So no, people shouldn't be woohoo, like celebrating that type of thing. But let's also remember it has happened on both sides. Let's continue.
Charlie was answering a question about trans violence when he was murdered. Do you think that was a coincidence?
I don't believe in coincidences.
Do you think they've caught your husband's killer?
So, something I'm so grateful for is that we have one of the most incredible teams for this case. I would never wish it upon anybody to have to go through what we are going through. To have seen the autopsy report, to have seen the different evidence portions that have been collected, I trust our team.
Yeah. So the autopsy report is not public, and just seeing the autopsy report doesn't mean that Tyler Robinson was the one that did it. Or there's also this other possibility that Tyler Robinson didn't act alone. It is also very strange that Kash Patel would not allow further probing into this case to see if there was any foreign intelligence that was attached to Tyler Robinson. That in itself sends off alarm bells. There have been a number of other things that have been brought forward, which I don't have proof or evidence of. But I will say this. The fact that the FBI went ahead and told you that the killer was this radical leftist who was trans or whatever, or had a trans agenda, before Tyler Robinson was even caught, captured by the police, that should have sent off alarm bells to a number of people. But the problem is, because people are so, invested in their camps, a lot of times people just believe what their team says. If you're on Team Red, you're more likely to believe what Team Red says. The first one to get the narrative out usually wins. If you're on Team Blue, you're more likely to believe what Team Blue says. And a lot of people at that time didn't stop and think, how do they know who the suspect is, what their sexual orientation is supposed to be? How do they know that before Tyler Robinson was even caught? No one stopped and asked that question, right? I had Colonel Larry Wilkerson on the show, and we talked about this. Larry Wilkerson is conservative. Larry Wilkerson said he believes they created Tyler Robinson. Wouldn't be the first time that they haven't created someone. By they, I mean these intel agencies. So we have to look at the country that we live in and the government that we have and the way that these alphabet letter agencies have moved before in the past. It is decades later, and some people for the first time are just now discovering, hey, maybe the person they said that, killed JFK didn't actually kill him. Looks like he was killed by intelligence. Hey, there's reports that show that MLK was killed by intelligence. It's been done before. This is not to say Charlie Kirk is MLK. I want to be very clear about that. But it's been done before. And people are so willing to believe. So as I said before, she said she saw the evidence that was presented to her. If Colonel Larry Wilkerson said they can create Tyler Robinson, what makes you think they can't create the evidence that they want you to see? Things to think about, folks. Let's continue. Oh boy.
Other theories swirling around about Charlie's assassination.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
When everything happened, my phone died and became a black hole. I just didn't turn it on for weeks on end. I've intentionally insulated myself because I need to guard my heart and I need to be there for my kids.
Told you that she said it in this interview that she insulated herself. So she is shutting everything else out, which again, you know, your husband was killed. I understand, like, just wanting not to hear and see all the stuff on social media. I understand that. But at the same time, that means that you're not opening yourself up to other possibilities that intel could have been all over this. So again, she insulated herself.
And I need to be there for Turning Point. And what I've realized through all of this is that
whoa. Go back.
my heart, and I need to be there for my kids, and I need to be there for Turning Point.
Being there for your kids, understand. But notice what she added. She needs to be there for Turning Point. Why? Why this rush to get back to Turning Point? Like that's what I'm saying. Look, when I've had loved ones die, the last thing on my mind was how quickly I can get back to work, how quickly I can get back to sports, how quickly I can get back to da-da-da. Last thing on my mind. I'm not thinking about that right now. So this is what I meant about just business as usual, it seems like to me. Now, some people say, oh, Sabby, you're being too hard on her. You know, she's, a grieving widow and stuff. No, I'm just pointing out things that corporate media is not telling you about. As I said before, with this show in particular, my job is to tell you what corporate media is not telling you. And there's just certain things that, to me, in particular, with this particular case, it just does not make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. And I think that you should question it. I think that you should question everything.
And what I've realized through all of this is that everyone grieves differently. Everyone is trying to figure out, and I don't blame them, how does this happen? How does somebody become so radicalized where they can justify this in their own head? We just lost one of the greatest voices of our generation. Why? How? What's behind it? Like, everyone's trying to process this. And I respect that. But where my heart is just asking for some grace is for the ones who were there that day. They have to relive that every single day. He didn't die in a car accident. He didn't die from cancer. He was assassinated. And the difference between this and previous assassinations in this country is there was no social media. There was no AI. I can tell you how many fake images are out there of all of this. And again, my only request is that just please pray and consider and think about whatever you put online, because it's going to impact his kids in the future. I don't want my kids to go on the internet one day when they're older and see things that it's just, we're all trying to process this in their own way, and I appreciate that. But just some grace would be nice.
So here's the thing, right? We get that and understand that. And some people are saying, well, who is she directing that message to? I did see people online. They were asking, Candace, please stop. I'll show you guys in just a second. There were people online. She didn't call her out by name. But there were people on X. They were basically asking people like Candace. They were asking Candace Owens, please stop talking about this. Let this go. See if we find this here. Give me just a second. I'll pull it up. Because Candace did say online that she said on Twitter that she was going to watch the interview. So let's just pull this up here. And let's go ahead and show you this, because she said, yeah, here it is. And I'll come back to the interview. She said, I will be locked in for this Erika Kirk interview with Jesse Waters. And some people said, I'm trying to find out, I might have to go to the part where people retweeted. Here's one right here. I would have watched the video. I would be wanting to know the truth. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I found that interesting that she didn't see that video. Here's one, Candace locked in. Here it is, Connor. Candace, people are going to use this interview in any way they can to bring a stop to your march for the truth. Erika Kirk clearly has faith in the team they have in place, meaning the FBI, the prosecutors, and all the rest of the apparatus working behind the scenes. Yeah. That's what I noticed. Let me actually, how do I go to, oh, I can't go to retweets on here. I hate how it does this on Twitter. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't want to waste your time. Like, I can just easily look at this on my phone, but I can just go to the retweets. Here's one. You will be disappointed, but remember, she's in the eye of the hurricane. She may not see things as clearly as she should. If so, be ready to show her a little bit more grace. Here it is. Found it. Dr. Dre, I hope you listen well, as there was a part she spoke directly to you. So I didn't see her bring up Candace's name. But let's get back into this here. But that's the part people were talking about.
Do you feel safe?
I do. What are they going to threaten me with? Going to heaven sooner to be with my husband? And I don't say that to be reckless. I do not. I do not say that because I'm out in the streets like, here I am, come find me. And it's not at all. It's a fearlessness that's rooted in the understanding that I will have my day and my time, whenever that is. When the Lord knows that I've completed my mission. And I'm not afraid. Charlie wasn't afraid either. We never lived in fear. If we did, we wouldn't get anything done. And I can't help run alongside this mission of Turning Point USA and raise my babies with fear. I can't. That's not a life to live for anybody.
What's the hardest part of your day?
The nighttime, always. I'll tell him about my day. I talk to him all the time. But the nights are the hardest. Being in a bed by yourself. Rolling over, trying to goodnight kiss that's not there.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I want to get to the part here about the courtroom, because I think this part here is pretty important. Listen to what she said about the judge not wanting cameras in the courtroom.
The defense wants to ban cameras in the courtroom. How do you feel about that?
There were cameras all over my husband when he was murdered. There have been cameras all over my friends and family mourning. There have been cameras all over me, analyzing my every move, analyzing my every smile, my every tear. We deserve to have cameras in there. Why not be transparent? There's nothing to hide. I know there's not, because I've seen what the case is built on. Let everyone see what true evil is. This is something that could impact a generation and generations to come.
Yeah, the case that the FBI tells you that it's built on, right? The case that the FBI may have built. I want to add something here. One thing I will say is this. I think that cameras should be in every courtroom. I don't like the fact that if there's a federal case, if you're in federal courts, there's no cameras in the courtroom, right? Like for example, with the Diddy trial, people are like, no cameras. No, if it's a federal court, there's no cameras in the courtroom. I never really agreed with that. I think that cameras should be in the courtroom. People need to see. However, in particular with this case, as I said before, this isn't in a federal court. And also the FBI should not have been involved in this case. This should have been handled by the state police of Utah. And I found it very strange that the FBI was involved. We went through the list of reasons why the FBI would be involved in a case. And the only one that we could find that was the closest to it was if it's considered to be a hate crime, which is apparently, it seems like to me, that's what the FBI was going with. And that's why I said they went after the whole, okay, well, it came from a trans radical left activist before they even knew who Tyler Robinson was, before Tyler Robinson was even captured. It was weird to me that they came out with that narrative, but they had to do that because that is one of the reasons where the FBI can get involved in a case. Because think about it, Tyler Robinson didn't cross state lines. You know, it's a number of things, right? Charlie Kirk wasn't a politician. He wasn't president. He wasn't a Congress member. He wasn't. So why did the FBI get involved? So they used that, I think, as a reason to get involved with this particular case. And then they just kind of took it from there. So Erika's telling you that she believes the team that's around her, she has insulated herself within that, faction. And that's what she believes. And then I saw this. This came my way. Apparently, this is an alleged Turning Point whistleblower. Listen to this.
When Erika Kirk came in as leader, I don't even know how to explain it. The vibe just shifted, like instantly. And then she starts bringing in all these new people, total unknowns. No social media, no LinkedIn, no nothing. It's like they just appeared. Everyone in the office is joking, well, half joking, that they're all spooks. And honestly, it fits. So people start digging around just to see who we're really working with. And it gets creepy fast. Her mom works for some Israeli defense firm, something to do with missile systems, like the Iron Dome level stuff. Her dad literally wrote the book about how to integrate private companies into the intelligence community. And Erika, she loves to brag about her connections. She'll say stuff in meetings like, if I want to know something about someone, I can have it by morning. Mossad doesn't sleep. Then she'll flash that megawatt smile like she's joking. But she's not. Everyone knows she's not. Does she actually work for them? I mean, yeah, everyone thinks so. She's hinted at it herself. And now, the whole office feels wired. Slack channels are dead. People don't say what they're thinking anymore. Everyone's paranoid, like the walls are listening. Maybe they are.
So, as I told you guys before, again, you take this video with a grain of salt, but one thing that we do know to be true that has been said in this video was about what her parents were doing, where they worked, right? We covered that before on the show. We showed a video of Erika admitting that herself. So we do know about that. Infiltration can happen anywhere. Now, this alleged whistleblower is saying that Turning Point USA basically seems like it's compromised, but I would say it was compromised from the moment it started taking billionaire money. It started taking money from Zionist entities. It was already compromised. It just seems as though they're saying that now there may be more people on board who are, a part of intelligence, allegedly. That's interesting. If that is true. I say alleged because we really don't know, but that person, alleged whistleblower. And I will just say that it's on Instagram for people who are wondering, but it kind of makes sense. Like I said, it was just kind of weird to me that like this rush to let's get back to Turning Point. Let's get this started with Turning Point USA. I'm in charge of Turning Point now. Let's keep that more. Right after her husband was killed. Like I said, why didn't that just wait? Then we also have to put the connection with this. that we know that young MAGA people are not, okay with giving money to Israel. They are pushing back on Israel. That's another big thing. We know that Charlie Kirk, according to those text messages that we saw, we know that Charlie Kirk was also wanting to walk away from Israel and those donors before he was killed. So we just put all of this stuff together. Now, this video, this may or may not be true. This could be a person just bragging or some person just trying to make something up or whatever. We don't know for sure. But what we do know is that, yes, her parents were a part of intelligence. Yes, her mom did work for Israeli defense. That is important for people to know. And I told you guys before, I've had multiple questions about her. So just put all the pieces together, ladies and gentlemen. Just put everything together. I just find this all to be weird, how quickly she's like, okay, I'll go ahead and take over Turning Point USA. It's all weird to me. Other people who know her, they probably have more information, right? Like Candace probably knows her, like has some type of connection with her. I don't. So I'm on the outside looking in. And I'm just showing you what I'm seeing, looking at this from the outside. It's just all weird to me. Very weird. And I don't know how many people watched that interview. Let's see. The YouTube one, that's interesting. People probably watched it on cable news or something. But the YouTube video has over 184,000 views. I'm actually surprised it doesn't have more views than that. So that's weird. But I don't know, man. I don't think that people are doing this for entertainment. I think that people are doing it because people legitimately don't trust our government, don't trust these intelligence agencies, and they shouldn't. And people have questions. And we know the FBI, the CIA, they have lied to us before. The CIA has been known to push a narrative, to create articles, to push propaganda. This isn't new. They have been doing this. So if you have questions, I would say you're on the right track. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.